Hey fam, if you're tuning in today, it's because you're ready to take control of your financial future. You don't want to miss a second of this episode. We're diving deep into some of the most crucial, often overlooked topics when it comes to money and the beliefs that shape our financial reality. So in today's episode, it's going to be packed with powerful insights as we welcome a special guest who has not only achieved financial freedom, but is here to share the exact steps you can take to do the same. We're going to be talking about things such as the hidden money secrets that school doesn't teach you, the shocking truth about why most people fight about money, the surprising reason even the most successful people feel broke, why the fake it till you make it mentality is a dangerous lie, and why spiritual wealth matters more than financial wealth. Today, our guest, Ajit, is a living testament to the power of winning mindset and strategic action. From humble beginnings in India, where he shared a home with 23 others, to becoming the CEO of Mindvalley and building his own company, Ajit has proven that you don't need to come from wealth to build it. In just 15 years, Ajit skyrocketed from earning $400 a month as an intern to amassing a net worth of over $15 million, all through a replicable approach to money mindset, developing high income skills and value investing. Today, he resides in a stunning multi-million-dollar home in Austin, enjoying financial and time freedom he's worked so hard to achieve. He's not just an entrepreneur and an author, but he's a groundbreaking trainer, a partner at Mindvalley, the world's most influential platform for personal growth and coaching. So buckle up and get ready to transform your financial destiny with Ajit's invaluable wisdom. Ajit, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me, man. I'm excited to be here.
Likewise. Are you ready to break some paradigms today?
Absolutely. Let's go for it.
Let's rock and roll, man. So why don't you start with some background on, how you grew up and what led you to ultimately being able to achieve your goals and dreams?
Well, like you mentioned, I grew up in India in a small house the house was small, but there were a lot of people in there, about 23 people in the house. We shared a great space. There was abundance of love, but clearly if we were sharing space as 23 people in a single house, we didn't have abundance of money, which kind of set me up early on in my life to have a single-minded objective of saying, I need to get out of this situation. Not just for myself, but also for my family. I wanted my parents to live comfortably. I wanted to live comfortably myself. And for those reasons, early on in life, I started to make decisions that would inspire or were inspired by making a little bit of money or a lot more money than what I was destined to make at that time or thought I could make at that time. And interestingly enough, I'd set myself on this path of saying, you know what, it'll be great. It'll be phenomenal. If before I hit 50, I'm able to, get my parents out of this house and give them a house as a gift. And funnily enough, it happened by the time I was 29. So that was amazing. That was almost 11 years ago. So that's where I come from. That's where I started. So the journey started in a small household in India. And I've had the pleasure to travel the world and work around the world and be able to impact humanity everywhere.
That's amazing, man. It was such a great story that you've been able to, develop through your hard work and most importantly, your mindset. So how is a wealthy mindset developed? How were you able to go from such humble beginnings to amassing to the fortune that you've been able to create? How does one start with that?
So there are three levels of abundance. I've based on my personal study and some anecdotal evidence of my own life, and then lots of data from my students. I found there's three levels that a person needs to change to be able to create whatever wealth they want to create. Again, wealth is very subjective to the point of view of the person. To somebody, $1,000 is wealthy. To somebody, 100,000. Somebody, 100 million is not wealth enough. And all of them are right answers. So you can get to whatever wealth level you want to get to, whatever money level you want to get to, till the time you work on these three things. So that's where I've come to conclusion at this point. The first level is the practical level. Practical level is simple. It's 2 + 2 is 4. Be able to invest at the right time, every time, as much you can, at the place and positioning you can. Keep doing that. Have a budget. Know how much you spend. Know how much you make. Very practical. There's something that you can study in any book today that you pick up. It would give you fundamental principles of practicality. But that doesn't make you wealthy, because more often than not, people fall off that radar or are not able to follow the practice that has been given to them. So for example, I can tell everybody on this podcast right now, hey, you should have a budget. You should know how much you're going to spend, how much you're going to make, how much you're going to invest. Because without investments, how are you going to compound your income? How is your money going to make more money, right? And I can say that, and most of the people will not be able to do it. It's not hard to do it. It's fifth grade math. So it's not like, oh, Ajit, I have to do algebra. It's hard. I was never a mathematics guy. You need to know fifth grade math. You need to know addition, subtraction, multiplication, compound interest. That's it. That's fifth grade math, right? So you can do the math, but you won't do it because what you get blocked with is what I call psychology of money. Psychology of money is where you have certain mindsets and behaviors that you've adopted either because of your own experiences in life, because you think your past equals to your future, or because of beliefs that your parents, your family, your loved ones gave you, or because of beliefs that you inherited from the beautiful world of social media, that you believe something to be true without actually knowing if it is true for you. And because of that, your psychology often blocks your ability to be able to create action towards the practical outcomes that you want to be able to create abundance for yourself. So if you're somebody who wakes up in the morning and says, today is going to be that day where I finally invest in my future, and you don't find yourself doing it, it's your psychology that's blocking it. It's nothing to do with your ability to be able to invest. It is very much to do with how you perceive what your relationship with money is. And that's the second level, and that most people will not ever work on that either, right? But the final level is what I call the spirituality of money. And spirituality of money is your understanding of your relationship with money in a universal way. And to understand that there are certain principles that if you believe in, you are more likely to create abundance. Say, for example, that you must believe that there's infinite abundance. Now, a lot of people don't believe that belief to be true, but if you believe there is infinite abundance, it allows you to be able to see abundance as an ocean where you can draw as much from without having to feel that somebody else will go thirsty. It changes your state. It changes your beingness. It changes your approach towards money, right? And with that, you can then create a lot more, right? To understand that everything is just a vibration. And eventually, the bigger your consciousness, the bigger your vibration, the cleaner your consciousness, the cleaner your vibration, the more abundance you will attract towards yourself. It sounds very metaphysical and it sounds very woo-woo, but if I had to translate that spirituality into psychology, I can prove it with psychology too, because when you are in a state of greater joy, greater love, greater abundance, you operate differently. Your psychology is different. You look and you walk with certain amount of certainty and clarity and confidence. The more certain, the more confident, the more clear you are, the more likely you are to generate more results in the world outside. And so that puts you in this place where you can always be generating more because your vibration is higher, that you're constantly working on the thoughts that block you or the fears that stop you, and you're constantly working with them so you can increase your scope of awareness of your consciousness. And the grander your consciousness, the easier it is for you to create. So there are many subsets to this, but primarily what one must understand is we are told that it's all about practicality of money, but it's not. It's more about psychology and more about spirituality of money than it's about practicality of money. The practicality of money is the easiest part. You can make more money, you can negotiate bigger salaries or bigger income or bigger deals if you want. You can absolutely generate more income for yourself. You can have a better budget. You can have a good compounding interest. You can make sure that your money makes more money. You can make sure that your value of your properties go up. All of that stuff is very easy to do. We make it more complex, but it's actually the easiest part of the equation.
Very well said. And I'm curious, for you, how did you make that psychological shift, right, to overcome those blocks around money? What was that process like for you?
That process is ongoing, my friend. It's even going on right now, right? Because psychology is something, or human beings are something that the work doesn't stop. If the work has stopped, there is a slow decline that you've set up for yourself.
Yeah.
I think I was talking to somebody else the other day, and we were talking about how some of us are wired differently. Some of us are uncomfortable with comfort. We like growth. We are, I don't know if addiction is a good word to use here, but we're addicted to growth. We like the change. We like the momentum. We like to be in the chase of what's new, not new in the sense of new things to do, but new in the sense of what's the new evolvement of myself.
What's the next
that
level?
What's my next level? And if you want to grow your money, you got to grow. It's direct correlation. If you want to grow your health, you got to grow. Everything is a byproduct of your personal growth. So if you are personally growing, you will always be growing whatever sense of abundance you have, love, relationship, health, money, whatever is the abundance metric that you are in love with and you're concerned about right now is going to change the day you change. The problem is most of us are unwilling to change. my situation or my big breakthroughs have started ever since I want to say ever since I was maybe 22, 23 years old is when I got introduced to meditation. And that was probably the first realm of unlock that happened. I also invested a lot of time in really learning about money. How does money work? What is money? What's the role of money in my life? Why do we even need money? Why did we create the structure? What's the spirituality or what's the practicality of it? And because of those investments that I still make, I'm not saying that I am a know-it-all. I do have a great understanding of it, but my understanding has constantly evolved over time. It'll continue to evolve because I'm a growth-centered human being. So it's about being interested in and actually learning about it.
Yeah, man, I love everything that you're sharing right now. I think it hits the nail on the head. And it's so practical, but most people, like you said, they just don't want to change. And so I'm curious, why doesn't school teach us principles to help us live more abundant and wealthier lives? Why wouldn't somebody teach us these fundamental principles that if one applied, we can live better quality of lives?
I think schools don't teach how to do money or how to take care of money is because school was never assigned that duty. School's not structurally designed for something like that. Schools are designed for us to be able to have a certain level of education that helps us operate and get jobs. They're not necessarily designed for us to become wealthy. That's not the job we assign to them. That's the job that is assigned to our families. So I would take one step back and say, why are our families not educating us about money? It's the same reason why most partners don't talk about money, right? It's because it's uncomfortable. We never really learn the art of communication as human beings because that's something that we think we are naturally gifted. Oh, you're naturally a good communicator. You're not. You have to learn. It's a skill that you develop. The more skilled you get, the more comfortable you get with any kind of conversation, including conversation like this. The more you train, you're a trained person yourself, right? You train in NLP and so many other things, is why you are interested in a conversation like this, right? And that's why the conversation is more engaging, is because you are actually interested in learning how to communicate more effectively. And that's really the job of families, to educate children about money. And not just about money, about life. Like, there is no education around love in school and colleges. We are not questioning that, right? There is no education about how to be fit and healthy in schools and colleges. We don't question that. That's not their gig. Their gig is to teach you things that can get you a job or help you find what you can work in the world for. That's the job of a school. It's not there to teach you how to live. That's your parents. That's your family. That's your uncles and aunts and brothers and sisters. That's your friends, your parents of your friends. That's the community that you learn in. And that's why it's very important for us to create environments for our children so they learn on the most important things that are in life, including money, but also about love. What is a good relationship? How do you define a good relationship? Have you even been curious? What is a good parent? What is not a good parent? Is there a good or a bad parent? How do you really discover yourself? I think those are the important questions, but they're instilled more from family, and that's where it should be versus from school. If we standardize financial education in school, we will all become like how our society is today. Our society today talks about averages. We don't talk about extraordinary. If you look at it, we say, what's the average income of an American? What's the extraordinary income of an American? Or any country, American just being context here.
Yeah.
Right? Schools are designed to be average. They're supposed to just make sure everybody is held. And that's a good thing, because that way we hold up the lowest, the person that is suffering the most. We get to pick them up and we get to hold them. That's the job of the government. That is the job of school education. Yeah. To become extraordinary is firstly your personal responsibility. So anybody that's listening, I'm not saying go blame your parents, because after you were out of your house, it became your responsibility. So if you're out of the house for 5 years, it's been 5 years. It's enough time. If it's been 15, it's been enough time. If it's 50, it's definitely been enough time that you're out of the house. So it's not to blame your parents, but that's where the education should have started. But if it didn't, then it's your responsibility. And it must be.
Man, that was very well said. You're a deep guy, man. You definitely have mastered the psychology behind, building wealth and understanding the way that the world functions and it works. And it inspires me very much, because myself, as I mentioned to you, I love self-development. I love to understand how the brain works, what makes people tick, why we do what we do, where do our beliefs really come from. And it made me think like, wow, my parents only did the best they could with the level of education, self-education that they decided to do once they left their parents' place. And what they knew, they're just passing on to me. So it's my job to be able to grow as an individual, expand my awareness and get clear on the things that I want to have in my life for my children so I can pass on to the things that I didn't have. And so that's what led me into that journey of self-development, realizing like there's a whole nother world and there's a completely different life that I can live if I dedicate myself to this mastery. And so for you, what was that point that really took you on this trajectory of self-development to then getting involved with a company like Mindvalley, which is, a giant in the self-development space? What led you into, that process? Did you aspire to be a coach?
No, not at
were
all.
you a teacher, or how did that happen?
So I would even say I stumbled into personal development. I didn't seek it. I wasn't asking for it. I was more interested in saying, what is the skill I can acquire that can make me more money? Like I said, I grew up in a household of 23 people. I was broke. And when I first was taking
23
jobs,
people in one house?
yes. Yes,
Jesus,
I grew up like that in India. Yeah, it's not uncommon in India, but it is still, it's a lot of abundance of love, but not abundance of money, clearly.
Yeah.
And so as I grew up in that reality, I just chose early on that, hey, listen, I gotta figure out how to make money, and in that process, I started taking risks really early on, because the traditional path would have made me an engineer or a doctor or an accountant, and I liked physics, I liked chemistry, but I didn't like the job of an engineer. Like I just didn't appreciate how, especially computer engineer, which was my passion. And so I was like, I rather figure out something else that actually at least fuels me while I'm making money. And I'm okay with the timeline that it takes for me to make anything, really. But that was my primary chase. So my first primary study was to make money. And that the only understanding I had of that was look for the opportunity that may not have happened right now. You can see the signs, but it hasn't really been realized. And so I saw the signs of internet being addictive and being important in our lives when I was 23 or something. And I texted my friends, and I had global friends always because of some organizations I was a part of. And so one of my friends in Malaysia said, hey, listen, there's a little startup. It has only like 10 employees, and they are willing to take you in as an intern. They pay very little, but their big pitch is you get to learn everything about internet. So you get to learn, and because it's Malaysia, you can travel to nearby countries and have a good time there. So it's more like have a good party while learning a little bit. That was kind of the pitch. And so I said, yep, I'm in, because I want to learn about internet. I know there's something here. I don't know what exactly it is, but I know I'm spending too much time on it for me to not capitalize it.
Right.
And with that interest, I applied to this company, I get selected, and that company was Mindvalley. That company was a small startup at the time, with not even a presence of Mindvalley at the time. It was just a bunch of different websites we used to have. And so I started as an intern, making $400 a month. And then in 6 years, I was the CEO of the company. And that happened because of my constant curiosity of how can I upskill myself. And that's where I got introduced to meditation and introduced to personal development. Like I said, I stumbled into it. I didn't plan to join Mindvalley. I didn't even understand what the heck they did. I just wanted to learn how to do things on internet. So it was pretty silly now that you think about it, that I had such a wealth of knowledge and ability that I could have tapped into. And first pitch that really sold me was, you can learn about how to do things on internet.
Yeah. That's incredible. And I'm curious because, being a CEO of a company means you're working tremendously hard, you're managing people, you're delegating. I mean, you have a lot of pressure on yourself as being in that role. Somebody that's in the world of personal development, spirituality, how was, fulfilling that role and being a CEO of a company like Mindvalley? What was that experience like?
It was very fulfilling as a role. Mine was a beautiful organization. The people are amazing. It's a very global enterprise. We had people from 60 countries at the time. We had 250 employees. We were doing 40 million or so in revenue at the time. So it was beautiful. It was actually one of the most fulfilling things of my life at the time. The challenge was that it was so fulfilling that I didn't care about anything else in life. And so I became this person who when somebody would ask me, what do you do? Who are you? My answer would pretty much stop at, I'm the CEO of Mindvalley. I didn't have a sense of identity beyond that. And that became a challenge because at a point when I was with myself, I had to come to terms with I really don't have a life. I loved everything I did. So there was no complaints on that front. But what is a life that at the end of it, you say, yeah, I worked. You never really lived the life that you could have lived. And so that kind of drove me to quit being CEO of Mindvalley and look for something that was more meaningful while having a great life. So that's where my life was. That's where I built my life around. First starting a business, which is called EverCoach at the time. Now it's called Mindvalley Coach because we merged as organizations. And during that process, I was very committed to saying, no, I want to live a most fulfilling life a person can live. Or at least from my point of view, it's the most fulfilling version that I can live. And so I get to travel, I get to hang out with my friends, I get to do things that really matter to me. I have a great family, great parents, great wife, great children, all of it. So I find myself blessed to be able to build a life that is truly, that I can say I live. I actually live my life. I'm not just working. So yeah, that's kind of how it came full circle. So, but I think there's a big association, and I learned this later, not during when I was CEO, but because I built EverCoach and built it to multiple 8-figure companies. Sorry, I realized one thing, that the whole story that we make about entrepreneurship, about it being so hard, is a good story to tell, but it's not true. We make it hard. It's not hard. See, more and more work I've done with myself and with people around me, I have come to terms with that we will believe the story we tell ourselves. So if in the morning you wake up, you know what, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm going to hustle because that's what entrepreneurs do. I'm going to hustle. You know how your day is going to unfold?
Overwhelmed, burnt out.
You'll be hustling. Do you have to? No, you don't have to. But you will. Because you think that gives you a sense of identity, that gives you a sense of purpose, that gives you meaning, that you feel like, yes, I do something, now I get to sit back on and watch Netflix. Now I deserve the success. No. The more successful people I meet, the more I realize that they have actually tapped into something far greater than hustling. You may have to hustle for the first 3 years of your business, but if after 3 years of your business you're hustling, you're probably in the wrong business.
Yeah.
Or you probably are not learning nothing. Because you're hustling when you should be growing, expanding, right? Running a team is a really easy thing to do. You're just interacting with human beings. We make it hard because we think, oh, I need some shenanigans to make this team work. No, people are nice. They want to work. You don't inspire them, but that's your shit. That's not their shit.
Yeah.
You don't have to criticize them not doing their job because you couldn't paint a vision for them, because you couldn't give them a path, because you couldn't give them growth. People are really easy to work with. An average number of time a team member works with me is 7 years. And it's not because I'm some genius, it's because they see growth with me.
Yeah.
They say, this person is going to push me, he's going to make me better every single day, he's going to pay me fairly, and at the same point of time, I can see that my vision aligns with his vision.
Yeah.
That this company is going somewhere, and if I join for the ride, oh, I'm going to go where I need to go. That's what people want. People are easy. Managing people is very easy. You make it hard because that gives the beautiful story of the hero that survived this treacherous journey of starting a business. No, it's hard for the first 2 years, 3 years. After that, you got to learn how to actually do it. It's like anything, right? It's like anything. You want to be a great coach? Learn.
Yeah.
You want to make more money? Learn about money.
I think that what makes the most extraordinary people, the most successful people successful is just one thing, and it's their dedication to mastery. They become obsessed with a specific skill, whether that's, psychology, sales, marketing, financing, accounting. They just become obsessed with mastering that one thing. And that's what allows them to succeed at the highest level. And so when we talk about mastery, being the CEO of Mindvalley, you were able to create an experience for, millions of people, right? Because they were working on themselves through that application, and they were living better quality of lives with that product that you were giving them. And so what does it feel like to be able to have a product that's improving so many people's lives, impacting so many people's lives, teaching them about meditation, helping them master their psychology, helping them master their relationships, like improving every single part of them? I mean, what is that like for you?
It's wonderful. Life for me, or the mission for me in life, is to collect thank yous. That I don't necessarily have financial goals at this point in my life. I have not even goals per se, but my ambition, my dream, my drive comes from the idea that if I could make one more life a little better, if I could make one more person's life a little better, and if I can do that and I get a thank you, that's all the payment I need, really. What I found in the process of approaching life like this is that yes, you get paid. Yes, you get to speak on events. Yes, you get to get on podcasts. Yes, you get to do all of this. But the essence of it all is that you get to really impact what you really want to do. You're driven by purpose. You're not driven by profits. Profits are a byproduct of purpose. So that's really the intention. And I think what you're really trying to ask is how to create great products, or what does it mean to create great products?
Yeah.
And that is the understanding of, so I create products beyond the scope of Mindvalley, and I think you're considering only the CEO of Mindvalley. I've built companies post that as well. And the essence of great products, our products get Net Promoter Score of 82.
Wow.
A Net Promoter Score, most people don't even know what it is. And that's the difference, right? Because most people will go, what is a Net Promoter Score? Well, a Net Promoter Score is, just for the audience, I want to explain it a little bit. Net Promoter Score is when, after somebody takes a product from you, you send them an email or a message or somehow interact with them and say, how likely are you to recommend this product to a friend? Right? Because not just how much do you like the product, how likely are you to recommend this product to a friend, which crosses a threshold, right? This means I like it enough that I will recommend it to someone. Right. And most people don't do an NPS score on their products. Most companies, most businesses don't do it. And when they do, usually they would think an NPS score of 30 to 35 is pretty good. Right. The highest NPS that I've ever heard is Tesla when it first came out at 91.
You
Apple,
almost 3x'd.
Say that again?
I said you almost 3x'd it.
We do. We are probably, again, I haven't really met everybody in the industry, so I can't speak for everybody. But I would say we are among the top creators in context of being able to actually educate our people, not just make a lot of money, but actually educate people. I would say we are among the top creators. Our NPS scores are always over 80 for our certifications. For our programs, they've always ranged over 65, which is still very, very high. Apple iPhone, when it came out, was 61 or 62, something like that. So it's pretty good.
Solid, man. Congrats on that. It's very impressive.
And so that's the first point to be able to create great products, is to actually track what a great product is. Because how do you know what a great product is? I mean, you're a really qualified person. I'm a really qualified person. There are many very, very qualified people who can educate probably really well, or at least communicate really well. But did it transform the person's life enough to say, I would love for a friend to do this because it meant so much to me? That changes the game. Because now you're not creating just saying something. You have to dedicate your time and effort to making sure their life actually moves. It takes a significantly more amount of effort to be able to adapt your product to a real need versus another product in the same field with the same kind of angle in the market. What we become, and this happens on Instagram all the time, it happens on products all the time, is every product looks the same after a point. Every message looks the same after a point. And so you gotta ask yourself, what is it? What is it? And you have to be in this constant inquiry. What is it that my people are searching for? And be able to then answer and be able to tweak if your answer is wrong. And that takes a lot of effort and time for sure. But that's what you got to do to create extraordinary products. And in today's world, when everybody can make a product, I think extraordinary shines.
Yeah, you definitely hit that spot on. Definitely hit that spot on. What would you say is the key to effective education online now that it's transitioned from going to school, going to university? People are becoming self-educated through courses, through different programs, through coaches. How do you create that experience where you can educate them, retain their information, and make sure that they're getting the results, to maintain such a high score for them to say, like, wow, I went through this whole entire thing. I'm referring my friends, my family. I want everybody to be about it.
I've not systemized it yet to explain on a podcast, but here is something that I can give and hopefully it lands. So the first thing is that you need to create an experience in itself. So it's not education that you're giving to anyone, you're giving an experience, which effectively means it needs to have certain elements that engages them, because they've bought many programs. Let's be very honest. Anybody that's buying a program from you has bought many programs, right? And this is fair for anyone.
And
right?
and apparently 90% of those programs, they don't even go through them.
Because they are education. There's me talking to you for 40 minutes straight, just talking at you, not even talking to you. Let's be very honest. So first of all, ask yourself, if I want this person to just listen to me for 40 minutes, or do I want them to actually do something? Right? That will change the way you speak, what you speak about, the pace you speak at, and what you get them to do at how frequent levels, right? So for example, if you take one of our programs, there are no hour-long videos. We chunk information in less than 20 minutes every single time, right? And the reason is because we know your attention span's not gonna take more than that, and then 20 minutes of powerful content is enough for you to say, hold on, let me think about it, right? I've gotten you to move one step further.
Yeah.
Right? Because now you have to think about it. Now you come next day or you watch the next video, that's okay. But you're thinking about it. You've given pause to it. You've engaged with the user. You've engaged with the client. You've engaged with people, right? So that's kind of first step that we kind of lean into. But beyond that, I think the most important piece that we have developed is community. People, like if you really think about it, why does anybody like university?
Because of the people they get to meet, network, the relationships.
Nobody remembers they remember teachers, but they don't remember their textbooks. They don't even remember where they learned what.
That's so true.
Right? They remember teachers that inspired them because they were like, oh, I love that teacher because they gave a
The
damn
cool
about
teacher,
me.
yeah.
The cool teacher who gave a damn about you. That's the teacher you remember. You don't remember every teacher. You remember the 4 or 5 really good ones, right? And the reason why they were good ones is because they were funny maybe, or they were somebody who cared, or they showed genuine interest in what you want to do, or they sometimes said, hey, listen, I think you're doing awesome. And you remember that moment, and that's it. That's what you remember in a teacher. Or in a university or a school, you remember your friends, you remember your community, the people you met. You end up doing business with them, you start doing things with them. That's what a university is. That's why you go to university. You don't go to university. That's a flawed idea. You don't go to university to get educated. That you can do in the library. Remember that beautiful line in Good Will Hunting? He says, you paid $100,000 for this education that I could pay for $30 in library overdraft fee or something like that, right? Which is true. That's not why you go to university. You've got the model wrong. It's not for education. You can get it at library.
Yeah.
It is for people. That's why you go. That's why do you think people want to go to a Stanford or a Harvard? It's because the community that goes there is the community that tends to have higher caliber of people, either because of their intellect or because of their background.
Yeah.
And so you get to hang out with them.
Yeah.
And because you get to hang out with them, what do? You end up doing businesses with them. You hire your CEOs from them. You hire you have your VC friend in there. All of them are there. Why do they become successful year after year? It's because they hung out with the right community. It has nothing to do with their education.
So good, yeah. It's so good.
They're reading the same books you are. There is no difference. So what do we create? We create a community. We get you your best friend. We literally, that's part of our enrollment. We want you to have your next best friend in this program. We remind them, we encourage them, we engage with them in a way where we say, come together. Because, like you said, first business, right? Business is hard, business is hustle, business is all this. First 2-3 years, that's true. Somebody's becoming a coach, somebody's training to become a coach. Guess what's going to happen? The first 2 years are going to be hell. You know what makes hell heaven? A friend, right? Let me get you a best friend. They're going through it together. And when you go together with a friend, it's not hell anymore.
Yeah.
It's heaven. It's
true.
Beautiful. So those are the things that come to my mind when you say, well, how do you create extraordinary programs? Well, make education not education. Make it engaging. And secondly is community.
Well, you did such a fantastic job of breaking that down and explaining it. You definitely have a gift for teaching.
Thank you. I've been doing that for a
Major
minute,
gift.
isn't it?
Yeah.
This is something that I have never even taught before. And there's probably many other sub-elements, but this is what is present to me right now.
If I was to give you my scouting report, I would say you definitely have the gift of teaching, and communication is something you've practiced and refined to be able to effectively teach those things that naturally you were gifted with.
Thank
you do
you.
a great job of that.
Oh, thank you.
And I have a question. Now that you've had this experience, being CEO of Mindvalley, having your own company, if you can go back, and do it all over again with the wisdom and experience you have now, what would you do differently?
Nothing.
Really?
No, I wouldn't. So my understanding of, and that's my understanding of life. I'm not saying I wouldn't do anything. If I had the same knowledge transported back with me, of course I'll do things differently. Right. But if I was to talk about series of life and how it unfolded, I think those experiences that one may call challenging or cathartic or hard or difficult is a preparation of the being that I am today. So I wouldn't change a thing, because I would take away the experiences that I would have had if I knew what I knew today in many ways. So it's impossible for me to be who I am today if I took away those challenges. The challenges are a setup. Challenges are a testing ground. Challenges are a way for you to be ready for the greatness that is to come. If there are no challenges, you become like a lottery winner. You know what's the fate of most lottery winners? They're broke in 2 years.
Yeah.
It's because they didn't try for it. They didn't work hard for it. They didn't learn the lesson for it. And I want to learn all the lessons. I'm not here to get the outcome. Outcome's boring. Outcome's transient. Outcome, you get it and then you're bored of it in 13 seconds. Like the dream life you live today was somebody's dream life 10 years ago, and now it's obvious to you don't even enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right? Ask yourself, 10 years ago, the life you wanted to live is probably the life you live today. Yeah. And you don't appreciate it. Right? Outcomes are nothing. It's the journey. It's what's fun. And the fun is in the moment. So I wouldn't take away anything from my old self. I would say live it. That's how you become who you become. So no, nothing. I wouldn't give anything unless you're saying, no, Ajit, I want you to be 3 times more successful. So transport all the lessons. Then maybe I'll send some lessons back. But I wouldn't change anything about my life. I love the experiences I had. It's not all good decisions I made, but hell, they were mine.
That was very well said. And what kind of practices do you have in place? Do you have a morning routine where you take your time to meditate, you read every day? Like, what are some of your daily practices? Because I get really inspired by very super conscious entrepreneurs, creators that have amounted to, wealth and success, and also have a great work-life balance, right? You're enjoying time with your family, your kids, you're traveling, you're doing what you love with the people that you love. That's always been my goal, to build that lifestyle. But most of the times I run into more people that are just like drivers, going, hustling, grinding, boom, boom, boom. And then there's people that are more like in the holistic and they're more wholesome, and then they have a different perspective in life, and it resonates with me. So what do you do to maintain this vibrational frequency that you carry that's able to help you manifest and live your desired dreams in reality?
So I see every day as a battery pack. And so through the day, as you're doing activities, you'll lose some battery power. When you wake up with 100 if you slept well, which I try to every day. So I wake up with 100. In my mornings, because I have 1 3-year-old and a 6-year-old at the time when we're recording this podcast, my day starts with cuddles. And that's charging up my battery to 200. I love it. I love all of it. I love my wife cuddles. We hug in the morning. It's nothing. No meditation. I don't work out in the morning. None of that stuff. Once I've hit my clock, which is usually around 8:30-ish, is when I would hit the office, which is near to my house. So I would drive up to the office, and then I would do about 20 minutes of meditation there. And then my work starts at 9 o'clock in the morning. So I start 9 o'clock, and then I go at a stretch of about an hour time. So 9 o'clock usually is calls where I'm teaching. So I'll teach for an hour. I'll take a 20-minute break. I'll teach for an hour, take a 20-minute break. Something like that would be the routine. And the 20-minute breaks are refuels, which means this 20 minutes might be, all right, let's hop on a walking desk walk. This 20 minutes break might be...
So it's like you're charging the
yeah, it's refueling. Yeah, it's like refueling yourself. It's like all these activities there to refuel me, so I am constantly in the most uplifted state I can. See, the challenge that happens, if you think about it, the battery pack visualization for a hot second, if you wait till the end of the day to fuel your battery, it takes longer to refuel it, right? Because you're almost depleted completely. Plus, if you forget to do it at that time, you are the snappiest idiot you would ever meet. Like, you don't believe that you are you, right? That's true, right? When we're tired, exhausted, that's the version of us that we're like, why am I like this right now? I don't even like me. Why should anybody else like me, right? That's why most fights in a relationship happen in the evening, is because both the humans show up at house empty in battery, and the kids take some more of it because they are exhausted and they haven't refueled as well. Now everybody's empty. Guess who's snapping? Everybody.
Yeah.
Right? That's because you don't refuel your tank. So refuel your tank through the day. So by the end of the day, so I would, for example, like 20 minutes might be a meditation. It might be walking desk. It might be outside of the weather's night. Sometimes Austin's too hot, so that doesn't happen. But it could be watching something that's fun for me, reading something that's fun for me, any of those things. And at about 3 o'clock, I'll hit the gym. That's my big refuel. Because when I go hit the gym, I feel really charged up again. I'm more energized than I was before. And then I go hang out with the family. So after 4 o'clock or so, I don't work. Actually, after 3 o'clock, I don't work. 3 o'clock is a gym, 3 to 4 gym, 4 o'clock I see my family. And it's just fun time with the kids and the fam, and date nights and whatever else that is scheduled for that, friend nights or whatever it is that's scheduled for the day. And to bed around 10:30, 11.
That's an amazing schedule. That's honestly
I love it.
living the dream right there.
Design the perfect day for myself. Yeah.
For the people that are in their first 3 years of business, so would you advise a schedule? You say, hey, don't end your day at 3. You have to work until at least 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. What would you advise for somebody more in the startup phase?
So it's different for everyone. So here's the way to think about it. So I can give a framework to think about it, but then it will probably roll out differently for everyone. So you got to understand that there is capacity and there's capability, right? So remember the 2 C's, capability or capacity. Capability, all of us, irrespective of who you are, you have infinite capability. You can be everything, everyone, all the time. No doubt. You are somebody who, if you believe in God, came from God. If you believe in science, came from a stardust or a Big Bang. All part of the infinite, if you really think about it, right? That's where we all come from, which means we are infinite. Effectively meaning, capability-wise, you have infinite capability. The challenge is we live in a world where it's a physical world and there is something called time. And with time comes capacity. And your capacity is different at different times of day. And your capacity is different based on the situation of life you live in. So say, for example, you're a single mom with 2 kids. If I tell you work 12 hours a day, you're going to smack me in the face because you're like, I got 2 kids. I can't work 12-hour days. Right? It's not possible. I got 2 kids. I got to take care of them. I got to take care of this. I got to take care of that. There's 1,000 things. You have a capacity issue. So you might be able to only work an hour a day. Doesn't mean you have to work 12 hours a day to be successful. You can be successful in that hour a day. It might take you a little bit longer. But to say, oh, if you're in the first 3 years of business, you must work 12-hour days, it's unfair. It's not even possible for most people. Why? They don't have to give up their dream just because it doesn't fit a model of somebody's random entrepreneurial paradigm, right? But let's say you're a single guy and you don't care about anything else in life but work, right? And let's say that's your drive. Knock yourself out. Work 15 hours a day for all I care. But notice how your energy is at different times of the day because we still have a capacity issue. I don't think most intellectual workers, which is about 80% of work in the world is intellectual work, right? It is basically taking in information, processing it, and spitting out with some other kind of information, some version of that, right? If that's the scenario that you live in, there's a mental capacity that after which you're exhausted. And so the work that you do after that mental capacity usually is low quality work. So do you even need to do it?
It's good.
Right? So you gotta, it's very personal. I'm not saying everybody's like this. Some people are wired. They can do 12 hours of high quality work. Good on them. I don't think there are many like that. There's a very small percentage that can probably pull that off. Good for them. Kudos to them. Nothing wrong with it. But most of us, I work 5 hours a day and I've built many companies in that time frame. You don't need more time. You really don't. If you actually work.
Right.
Don't doom scroll on Instagram.
Yeah.
Don't check out somebody else's funnel to figure out what you should do. Just dedicate your time and effort and energy to saying, this is what I'm building. I'm clear what I'm building. You can't build more than 4 or 5 hours a day. You don't have to. Like after that time, you're just twitching fingers. You're just pretending to be busy. There's nobody who has that much work. No job has that much work. No business has that much work. I mean, if you're doing that much work, you're doing work for 6 people. I don't think anybody's doing work for 6 people. That's a story we like to tell ourselves. And I've asked this question in my groups at least. So at least in my groups, it's true. When I ask them, hey, let's really track your time. You know what a time tracking is?
Time tracking when you're doing like tasks?
Yeah, so you track your time. You go, okay, this is I did for 15 minutes. This I did for 15 minutes.
I started doing that earlier this week
Time
intuitively.
logging, I think that's what it's called, right? So time logging, if you do time logging, and I ask people to do time logging, I'm like, okay, let's see what you do, right? So when people, and not my team members, but like people generally, are like time log. People who think they're starting businesses and they're working so hard, they're like time log. And most of the time, I was like, okay, what were you doing? They were like, well, half the time I noticed I was either just sitting around being anxious, looking at somebody else's content and thinking I was not good enough, or just basically saying, I'm doing research, which means you're doing nothing.
Yeah.
Right? There is no research anybody is doing. Scrolling up, down is not research. Research is proper data analysis, and none of us is excited about it. Let's be very honest, right? Especially in our kind of field. You're not excited about saying, I'm going to sit down and look at some data right now.
Yeah.
Very few of us are wired that way in our field. Like in other fields, maybe yes. In our field, none of us are wired that way. So we're not doing that. So you're not doing research. You're looking at other people's content and thinking you're not good enough. That's not helping you. That's not building a business. That's just telling you why you shouldn't be trying to build a business. That's not a good action for you building a business. So if you think it took me 10 years to build a business or 3 years to build a business, well, were you really building it? Or were you just constantly figuring out ways to doubt yourself?
So good.
And that would just bring you to that realization of going, oh, damn, what am I doing to myself, right? And that's most of us, because when we get that time where we're like, I'm blazed out, I work 4 hours today or 3 hours today, I don't really have any energy, any productivity left in me. Instead of saying, let's hit the gym, we go, let's hit our phone and pretend to work. Go hit the gym. You will be better off after that. Go meet a friend. Go get dinner by yourself or with a random stranger. Way better off. Talk to a real client instead of scrolling on Instagram or texting them on Instagram. Say, pick up the phone, call them. You would be so much more elevated through those actions that the next day or later that day, you will actually do work.
Yeah.
Right? So set yourself up for success.
Yeah.
Don't set yourself up for reaction of the world. The people who you are inspired by today are most likely creators of their reality.
Yeah.
For that matter, I'm pretty certain they're creators of their reality.
Yeah.
Which means every day they woke up and said, what is it that I want?
Yeah.
And I'm going to only chase that. I don't care where you're going, where you're going, where you're going. I'm going there.
Yeah.
And I want everybody on the boat who wants to go there.
If there's, out of all the wisdom that you've dropped, on this episode, if there's one thing that I'm taking with me is definitely being intentional about time, and just focusing on the things that, I personally want to do and the things that are important to me. And so with that being said, as we're wrapping up the episode here, is there anything that you'd want to share with the audience that maybe you haven't shared here yet, that you would want as a final word?
There's a lot that we can talk about, but we are constrained by time. So I have an offer for everybody that is listening to this podcast. I'm going to give you my book for free, the PDF version.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's the book for entrepreneurs or for anybody that is purpose-driven, wants to create purpose, wants to live a life of purpose with passion, with some practicality embedded into it. It's called Live Big. That's the name of the book. And you can go over to downloadlivebig.com, and it'll take you to a page where you can sign up, and I'll send you a PDF of the book that you can download and read in your own time.
That's amazing. Guys, make sure to grab the copy of that book. Definitely, Ajit has cracked the code, as you can see. And I'm sure that book is going to be filled with so much value. So would love for everybody to grab a copy of that. And other than that, thank you so much for being on this episode here today. Really enjoyed the wisdom that you dropped. And I hope to see you sometime soon again, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.